Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little bit different. We are not gonna talk about traveling, but we're gonna talk about Canada, specifically how I moved to Canada. I am from Morocco, born and raised in Morocco, specifically in Casablanca. So in 2016, I graduated from university with a software engineer degree, and I worked in Casablanca for almost 2 years. In the second year, most of my friends and colleagues, they were applying for jobs in France, and I started feeling a little bit bored in Casablanca, not much activities to do, specifically sport things. So I was thinking, why not? I will apply also to move to another country. Initially, I was planning to move to Canada since I have already my brother who is living here, but I was thinking that my chances to get the PR are not high enough. So let's try first France, and if I got job in France, specifically that France was close to Morocco, I can travel easily from Morocco to France or from France to Morocco. So I started looking for jobs in France. By chance, my company was looking for a developer in France because my company was based in France and in Morocco. So I applied through my company and I moved to France. I didn't move to Paris, the big city of France, but I moved to a small city called Grenoble. It is in the southeast of France, near the borders of Switzerland and Italy. So there I spent almost also 2 years. I made a lot of friends there, and I also did a lot of activities, hiking, running, climbing in that small city, because it was a small city surrounded with mountains, and there I learned also to ski. After the first year of living in France, I started feeling lonely and a little bit bored, so I was thinking, why not? My big dream was to move to Canada. Why not chase that dream and move to Canada? At least I will be close to my brother. I will have some family support. I started preparing all the documents needed for the Entry Express, and I got my French exam, I got all the papers, all the documents required, and I wanted to pass also the English exams so I can have higher chances to be picked. And since I was living in a small city, there was no center to pass the English exam. So I had to travel to another city, which was 1.5 hour drive from Grenoble. I have to travel to Lyon, which is a bigger city. And I booked the bus to go there. So the day of the exam, I didn't wake up on time. I wake up at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. the bus was supposed to leave from Grenoble. So it was too late to chase that bus, to run after the bus, because I needed at least 30 minutes to get ready and take the tram to travel to the bus station. And even if I take the next bus, which was at 9 a.m., I would have already missed the exam time, which starts at 9 a.m. So that day, I just slept, went back to sleep, and I missed my English exam, and I never had any English exam. So my brother, who was living already in Canada, was asking me, how is it going? How is your application? Then I told him the story about missing the English exam, that I'm not able to pass it, and the next appointment was, I think, after 3 months or something like that. Then he told me that in Paris, some companies from Quebec, they go to Paris, they host an event for 2 days to recruit people. So he was telling me, if you can get there and apply for jobs and get interviewed and see if you have any chance to be picked, then you don't need to pass by the Entry Express. You can come directly to Quebec or Canada with a work permit. That event was called Journée Québec. So they host it, I think, right now everywhere in the world, in France, in Morocco, in Tunisia, as I know. But at that time, it was only in France, in Paris. So I applied, I got 2 interviews, and I went there, and I passed those interviews, and I got picked. So finally, I secured the job. I started the process to apply for a work permit from France. I was all the time talking and communicating with the company to prepare the documents and get all the documents required so I can enter Canada. Once that was done, I was also able to find an apartment with the help of the company from France. So I was already having my own apartment, so I just need to take that flight and travel to Canada and started my job. So my job was in Quebec City, and my brother lives in Montreal. So I decided that I'm gonna travel to Montreal, stay there for 10 days, and then move to Quebec City and start my job. I took my flight from Paris in 2020, March 11. Yes, March 11. It was already COVID time. I mean, it just started COVID time. I reached the airport. I remember I reached the airport and I asked some people, they were there to give some instructions. If you feel sick or you feel anything, you feel any symptoms, just call us. So I told them, do I need to isolate myself? Is there any information that I need to know? And they were like, no, everything is fine. Just go home, chill. There is nothing specific you have to do. So I reached Montreal on Wednesday, and on Friday, they announced that there will be a lockdown. 2 days after landing in Quebec, in Montreal, in Canada, there was a lockdown. Then instead of staying with my mother for 10 days, I stayed with my brother for 4 months. And during those 4 months, 2 months I was unemployed because the company I came with, they were not able to get me the job immediately because of all the changes. So they asked me to hold on for at least 2 months. So for 2 months I was unemployed, and after that I started working remotely. But I was thinking that we're gonna go back to office, and that is not gonna last for more than 3 months. Then I moved to Quebec City for 2 years, and I worked all the time remotely. I never went to office. I was just living there in Quebec City alone and working remotely. And I don't regret that experience because I had the chance to visit a lot of places near Quebec, the national parks, to enjoy all the nature around Quebec, to make a lot of friends there. So there is no regret of me moving there for 2 years. But after those 2 years, I wanted to move to Montreal and settle down. At that time, I already met my husband, and we were thinking of getting married. So I wanted to move to Montreal and be with him. When I moved to Canada in 2020, I moved with a work permit, a closed work permit. So I couldn't change my employee. So I have to stay with that same company. And after 1 year of experience, I can apply for a PR, permanent residency. At that time, it was only 1 year of experience was enough to apply for the PR. Right now, I think it is 2 years of experience at least to apply for the PR. So after 1 year of living there, I applied for the PR, and just the time I was preparing myself to move to Montreal, I also submitted my application for the PR, and I got it in September 2022. That was my story. That was my immigration story. I moved to Quebec City, and after applying for my PR, I moved to Montreal. I got married, I settled down, and now in March 2025, I will finish 5 years of living in Canada. I recently applied for my citizenship. It is in progress. If you are interested, I can also share that experience. I can show you how is the process, and I will let you know once I become a Canadian citizen. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was my story, my immigration story, and how I moved to Canada and how long I have been here. In March 11, 2025, I will finish 5 years.